Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Nyasha and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. To discuss the Hungarian Grand Prix from one milk lover to another.
Hi, that's what I'm known as. Oh. Don't go with one entrance, man.
Oh no, look, he's more than that. He is Pit Stop Fracas' own. Welcome to the show. Let me get you a big round of applause. He's working the double shift. He's come from his own show onto the show. Much appreciated. It is Kwame cheering for you. There you go, bro. How's it going, bro?
Thank you, Nyasha, man. Thank you. I'm all good, you know. All warmed up besides over F1, man. So it's good to be on, you know. Yes, I think this might be my first time, I believe.
I think it's your first time.
Yeah, it was the first one.
I didn't want to be like rude and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
is this your first time?" In case I've forgotten.
My first time.
I'm pretty sure it's your first time. So
Thank me, man.
no, look, pleasure's all mine, man. Pleasure's all mine. So look,
I mean, anywhere else in the world, but I'm here.
you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with us. Look, let's get into it then. Hungarian Grand Prix, Lando Norris wins via a one-stop strategy against Oscar Piastri's two-stop drama towards the end there after falling back actually to fifth place. I guess for you, before we get into the race and everything itself, I guess how are you viewing this F1 season so far? We're into the summer break now. You know, the die has been cast in terms of what we're going to see this season in terms of McLaren and everyone else pretty much. So I guess, yeah, how are you viewing the F1 season so far?
So far I feel like it's kind of been cleared that, you know, you just got the McLaren's kind of running away with it. In the sense of just been Lando and it's been Oscar. I felt like my expectations before. So I had the feeling that McLaren was going to be one ahead of it just because towards the end of last season they were the fast team.
Yeah.
But I thought that Lando is the more experienced older driver. You should be running away with it. But I wasn't Oscar to be so kind of. I wasn't expecting Lando to be making as much mistakes as he's been this season, and also I wasn't expecting Oscar to be this kind of composed and mature. I know he's quite. For his age, quite a mature driver, quite cool, quite chill, quite calculated. But I was expecting this lead that we're seeing now, per se.
No.
Well, I would have thought Lando.
No, I think you're right? I don't think anyone... well, actually, I've got a friend who put like a bunch of money on Oscar Piastri at the start of the season, and it was like 11-1. So, you know, that... But he's a fucking reprobate, degenerate gambler. Nigerian, I wouldn't.
To say it, didn't it? And you thought,
yeah, do you know what I mean? If I'll flush some money down the toilet, see if it comes back, and look, sometimes things do come out. So I think, like, other than some people definitely did, but I think the general consensus was this was Lando's season, and I think once everyone saw the pace of the McLarens, you know, compared to everyone else, I think everyone thought, right, you know, Lando's, this is his to kind of walk through. But yeah, I think I don't even think, like I think I said before, I don't think Lando Norris has regressed that much, if at all. I think Oscar Piastri has just developed.
Yes, because I think the issue was a lot last year was his qualifying for me was kind of his weakest attribute.
Yeah,
especially last season, we kept saying like, is his race pace actually good? You got everything else to be top driver, but is the pace actually there? Whilst this season now you can see, the pace is there along with everything else that's needed alongside it. So I think he just came in his own this year.
Oh no, he really has. He really has come into his own. So look, you know, we go into this weekend then. Oscar Piastri is on second behind Charles Leclerc, and we'll get to Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, because it seems to have been probably a microcosm of their season in one race weekend this weekend. But I guess with Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, so I guess there's been a lot of talk about the strategy, right? Oscar Piastri essentially in second, can't get past Charles Leclerc on pace, with the Ferrari looking, especially in that first stint, looking like it was, it was a shoo-in for a win there. They're kind of trying to overtake Leclerc on the undercut, I think, in the first stint, and then on the second stint, they kind of try it. They're thinking of doing the overcut. They kind of spook Ferrari into making the stop. Lando Norris stays out, and essentially it's a Hail Mary. I think I know what your answer is going to be. I know what mine is, but I guess, do you see anything wrong with like what McLaren did in terms of the strategy, in terms of, is it unfair to Oscar Piastri? Last year there was a lot of talk as well. This is unfair. This isn't right. This, that, and the other. This year, Oscar Piastri he wasn't leading, but he was in front of Lando for most of the race, and ultimately has the suboptimal strategy. So I guess, how do you view that kind of inter-team strategy battle, and do you think it's fair, unfair? How did you see it?
I feel like it's very weird. So so if they were first, second and thirds, then I'd be like, they should be the same strategy. But because Lando was so far back, or doing fifth originally, the fact they did that one stop, I can understand why they did it, to kind of negate okay, cool, he's that far behind. We can't do the Hail Mary approach. He said, Nyasha, in the sense of, boom, let's just try all we can do. I feel like the issue was more with McLaren, where with Oscar, where there was, I think, lap 15 where you pitted originally, and then afterwards they tried to say, can you extend the tires? I feel like that was where it all went wrong. Well, they should have had a strategy from the beginning where you either do two stop or you do one stop. You go out from there. Yeah. And that's what I feel like you went wrong with Oscar's side of the garage.
Yeah, it was. You could probably argue that. I mean, look, I think Oscar Piastri had a really good quote where it was like, well, look, if I, with 1 second extra, I would have won the race today. And then you're looking at that strategy being the optimal strategy. It's fine margins, and we're looking at how close the grid is over the weekend, especially in qualifying. The fine margins all over the place almost dictate the impression of how your weekend goes. So for me, could they have been a bit more aggressive with Oscar and gone, yeah, okay, what, if Ferrari are doing a two-stop, we're gonna go with a one-stop, and like I say, extend that second stint even more, right? Or have an even larger offset, who knows? But they kind of pigeonholed themselves into a two-stop, and it did remind me. I know this is I know how you girls like to tussle, so I'm not bringing this up to be, the bad guy. I know it brings up memories, but it does remind me a lot of George's win, which was taken away. Sorry, I'm about to... Sorry, oh my God. Anyway, see what happens when you talk about fucking demons. Reminded me of George Russell's Belgian win, which was taken away last year. In that, he was rolling around in sixth place, and they just said, well, fuck it, we're going to go stay out for one stop. And again, Lewis's side of the garage aren't really aware of that. And then it's not until it's too late and you've used your tyres trying to do one thing, but then you have to do a second thing, which, your tyres, you just don't have enough for. And in the end, George ended up winning in Belgium. Obviously, we know the car was illegal now, but at the time, George ended up winning. I mean, it was. It was, though, it was legal, but but yeah, exactly. So George's car was on a Zempic that day, so we can't really talk too much about it. But I think that's what it looks like. I think sometimes Oscar Piastri, in all fairness, was quite complimentary on the radio to the team. Saying, great strategy today, and afterwards in the pen didn't really seem too phased by it. He still leads the championship, so there's not much. Like I say, it's not much. I find the conversation around it was unfair to Lando, I think that's I don't think that's really anything to be concerned about, to be honest. But I guess, having said all that, I guess I don't want to bring this up again, but Lando Norris, his starts, I mean, at what point is that just like a weakness, or is it just like circumstantial? You look at his...
No, this is not circumstantial. This was on him. This was purely, bro, on him. Like no one could try to... Okay, so... you know what? So off the line, he was actually faster than Oscar. Oscar was the slowest off the line, right? But then what he tried to do was he swerved in from the outside to the inside. Because he saw Oscar was slow, he tried, let me try to overtake him. But when he tried to overtake him, Oscar kind of boxed him in.
Yeah.
Where to the point where it's like, hey, either you crash now or you let go. He let go, and then Alonso and Russell went past.
Yeah.
Down to fifth. If he calculated that a bit better, he would have probably overtook Piastri and in the second, and who knows, Margot Shaw.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? Like he almost like you can't half-ass it. Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks, right? So if you're gonna go for that inside line, you've got to go all the way, and you've got to really go. And again, look, but I think this is the thing, right? And I think this is my wider point about McLaren. This title fight should be, by all intents and purposes, this title fight should be being hailed as one of the greatest F1 seasons ever, right? On paper, two teammates, neither have ever won the Drivers' Championship before. Young guys, popular guys with big followings. McLaren, one of the biggest teams in F1, 200th race win, I think.
Literally 200th race win today, yeah.
200th race win. So, the ingredient, it's just them. We've got, same when we had just, 2014, we had, Hamilton and Rosberg, from 2014 to 2016. And we know that the buzz that created. But it's so sanitized, and it's so like they are managed to within an inch of their life. They are so scared of contact with each other, despite Oscar trying his best. But I think someone who doesn't give a fuck about papaya rules, I think he keeps it he keeps going to the inside and he sticks it, and maybe there's a wheel on the grass as he goes down or whatever, but like I just feel like he kind of halfway committed to that move, and then by the time he was boxed in behind Oscar, obviously he had to brake super early so he didn't run into the back of Oscar, and then he's been overtaken on the outside. So I guess how do you agree with that sentiment that maybe this is like a bit, this title fight is missing something to make it like legendary?
How do I say it? I feel like it's very like cookie cutter, very structured. Like it's like a head teacher's kind of organizing this sort of thing rather than letting the students just kind of play and do whatever. That's how I feel like. I feel like Zach Brown's kind of the puppet master and telling, you guys can race, but don't race too close. And we're too close, you'll be in attention. That's how it's kind of, that's how I'm seeing it in the sense of they are racing, but there is that thing where it's no one's pulling out. Or at the end of the race where Piastri tried to do that, but then he locked up essentially. Where if this was, let's say, Rosberg or Lewis 2016, they might not crush each other. Yeah. Obviously, get them two is I don't want to go into it, but obviously them racing against each other from when they're young and all psychological stuff with kicking, where these two guys are a bit more, their personalities are a bit more, I guess, drier. I can't lie.
Yeah, no, they're
a bit more, again, Sanitized is great to put. I feel like it's very kind of, keep your hands clean sort of thing.
Yeah, no.
It's been
you're 100% right. I think Oscar's engineer came on the radio straight away. Like, remember how we go racing, Oscar, when he did that move, and we've seen similar to that in Austria, where Oscar, locking up and nearly taking out Lando, and then getting a little like, "Don't you dare do that!" And I think, look, and it's fair, right? Like McLaren, it's like Ron Dennis era, but like more shiny and more corporate. Like
they literally just put the the color, the painted the house basically, but it's the same house inside.
It's the same house. Like, you guys, like, stay in line. Like, they are in line to within an inch of their life. That you dare disgrace the sponsors. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think for them it's great. I think for us as fans,
yes,
I just think, and look, I'm sure, I read a tweet from someone random, I can't even remember their name, but they were kicking off on Twitter about something, and someone was like, "Chill out." They were Lando Norris fan, and they were like, someone was like, "Chill out, like, you guys second." He's like, "This is the most emotional I've ever been about a Formula One championship. Of course, I'm gonna be." So for these guys,
Yeah.
history awaits for one of their drivers, probably a lot sooner than they ever imagined it was, and being in a title fight. So for McLaren fans, I'm sure this is super fun, but I just think this title fight isn't going to push F1 forward. It's not, like in 2021, you would have people who don't even watch F1 coming up to you and be like, "Oh my God, like what's going on in the F1? Like you're the guy who watches F1. Oh my God, what happened the other day between Lewis and Max?" Like we're not getting that yet. Maybe that will happen later on in the season.
Maybe later on in Abu Dhabi, who knows? But I think the thing as well, it's just both drivers, their personality. I don't think it lines up yet to that type of driver, to that type of world championship where Oscar's very calculated, he's very calm. He's very, measured in kind of how he approaches things. Lando is quite emotional, but he's emotional in the sense of he's very down on himself.
It's inwards.
It's inwards rather than outwards. That's it's very in. So I don't think we'll see that emotion just yet. But if it is like 1 point, if they're on the same output as Abu Dhabi, all hell will obviously break loose.
Yeah,
I think it will take a while till we get there, and I think it's slowly kicking up on the gas, it's not gas mark 1, gas mark 2. Hopefully you get the gas mark 6, but right now, just a low simmer.
Low simmer.
Just
a little simmer. No, I love that. Look, as a chef, I love that. Okay, well, look, there are actually 3 people. Well, there's 4. Well, 3.5 if you include George. But there was 3 people trying to win this race this weekend. And one of them was Charles Leclerc, who I guess qualified on Saturday on pole position out of nowhere. I think, that was probably one of his best pole positions. What's your view of Charles? Obviously, I'm not going to say too much because I think I've said enough about Charles Leclerc over the course of this week. Do you know how bad it was, Kwame? No, do you know how bad it was? Right. So, for those who don't know, on Monday I made a video which is on our YouTube. Go look at it. Where I was trying to basically say, like, Charles Leclerc fans, because people were saying like Lewis Hamilton's a liar about why he's spanning in Spa and whatever, and I was like, look, like, you're calling Lewis Hamilton a liar, calling his fans liars, and I did disrespect Charles a little bit, and I basically had an analogy. I was like, Michael Schumacher's a legend, Enzo Ferrari's a legend. Who is Charles Leclerc? And I compared him to a room in the house where you don't know what to do with, and obviously that there's a lot of fucking architects in the Charles Leclerc fan base because they took that room analogy very poorly. And look, I've apologized. I'm sorry. Won't do it again. But so I got absolutely flamed on Twitter. Do you know how bad it was, right? Obviously, like we had like the standards when the video kicks off. I got personal messages. They find my Instagram. They're messaging me. I've been called ugly and all of that stuff. Fine. But what's harrowing at the moment about Twitter is like the mute function on a tweet just doesn't work. So normally you could just like mute a tweet and it goes away. Like now, I think if someone quote tweets it, it doesn't count as a mute. So I'm just seeing like quote tweet after quote tweet. And then I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just not going to look at my fucking notifications. Tell me why. I'm just on the timeline. Every third tweet I'm seeing is just my fucking face getting dunked on in different languages. Italian, French, Russian. To someone in fucking Korea. Right, bruv. Someone in Korea started... Bruv, do you know when it's so bad? You have to literally... Twitter Translate didn't work. I had to highlight it, then put it into Google Translate to see how they were cussing me out. It was insane. So I'm not going to say too much about Charles Leclerc, but I guess because people talk about his pole conversion rate. I think we're looking at 5. Is it 7? 8. So 5 from 23, I think. It's not great. Let's look at this. Let's not Charles Leclerc pole to win conversion rate 18.5%, 5 from 27, which is not great. But I guess there's, I guess for you, I'll ask the question: do you praise the man who's able to take a car which may not be capable of winning races into pole position, and do you rate that, or do you put that on him? Some of that, obviously, this weekend you can't, right? But I guess it's a broader discussion around, does that show like a failing with Charles or failing with Ferrari? I guess, how do you see that?
I see it as a tale of two factors here. So I see it that he's got great one lap pace, so he's great on a one lap, and so qualifying. If you tell him do the fast lap you can in this car, I can expect Charles to do that, and that's one thing that a lot of drivers in the grid don't have, especially compared to Lando and Oscar. They've struggled in the past with qualifying.
Yeah,
Leclerc, I know, is always gonna bang on a pole, always gonna have just a random lap where I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. That's a different thing. A bad thing, however, is when it comes to converting that into a race, he stinks. His race pace just is not it. And cool, there are certain times where it is the car, like today.
Yeah.
There are certain times where it's strategy, where we would say the Ferrari's Ferrari. That, the story of Ferrari, it will always be there. So the strategy will fall off. But there's other times where it's him. There's other times where he might push too hard, where he might crash. There might be times where he's just slow and just quick the tires. That sometimes down to the car as well. But I feel like there is definitely the fact that you've only got 5 wins out of 27 poles. That to me is not a coincidence. It's not a fluke. It's not by chance. It's not just pot luck. I feel like there is a part of him where he does struggle to keep up the pace. And there was also times where you could say, boom, he is getting that car into a place where it shouldn't be. Yeah. But at the same time, if the car is getting there on one lap pace, I suspect they should be able to keep that up. Yeah, a decent part of the race. So I feel like that's the tale of two sides.
If I was to I think it sums up Ferrari, modern day Ferrari, quite well. Flatter to deceive. And I don't think, if I was to blame anyone for that conversion, I do put it. If I was to say, like, what is it? Is it the team, the driver, or... But yeah, is it the team or the driver? I would probably go like 66%, 75% the team, 25% the driver, right? And I just think, example where I think it was his fault, let's say Baku last year, did he qualify on pole? Wait, hold on, let me just double check. Yeah, if you got to hear that.
Yes, 2024 he did.
Yeah, right? Right. 2024 Baku. He ultimately loses that race to Oscar Piastri after being dive bombed at the beginning of like the second stint, or after the pit stops, and he then can't get past Oscar Piastri, having controlled much of the race, right? Mm-hmm. I think you can't blame the team for that. I think that was solely on his shoulders. He could have, if he was away, I think he could have prevented that dive bomb. He only had to keep Oscar Piastri behind for like a few laps, and then it was pretty much set in stone that whoever was in front had clean air and could probably manage the gap. So, but he let that happen, and I think that's on Charles. Pardon me. Obviously, then you have weekends like this weekend. Also as well, like Monaco, when he's stuck it in the wall after being in provisional pole, and then he can't take the route, whereas maybe doesn't get into the race and whatever. So you can't say that all of those pole positions are not his fault, right? And that he's not conveyed. But what I would say is that this weekend, just Ferrari, how his pace just falls off, from around lap 40. How much credence do you give to George Russell's expert opinion, having followed Charles Leclerc around, saying that he thinks that they were scared of plank wear? Because I think they got this. Did Lewis get disqualified for plank wear in China?
Yes.
So they're worried about that again. And so they increased the PSI on the tires, the tire pressures to raise the ride height of the car. And that's what Charles Leclerc was referencing when he was on the radio. But Charles Leclerc comes out and says, oh, it's just something to do with the chassis. It wasn't that. It would never be that, guys. How much credence do you give to that?
You know what, though? I'll take George's word to it. I take George's word for it, obviously slightly, like probably like 75% chance. I mean, again, we're still waiting on the full picture. But like I said, obviously, Lewis and Charles both were disqualified in China for the same reason. They both passed where Lewis obviously won spin race away.
Yeah.
I know Leclerc and Vasseur tried to come out saying about there was an issue with the chassis, which is very sus in my opinion. They try to say there's an issue with the hybrid management in the engine, which is pretty sus to me again. The fact that they were looking very fast, and then obviously the second stage reacted, they blew it up apparently, and they changed the tire management as well. I feel like it might add up to the point where, because they were looking fast, they were looking a bit,
bit too fast.
So
Do you know what I mean?
a bit too fast. Like, you know, it's like they had the PED injected. I know they had upgrades. And then upgrades this week, but I wasn't expect to be this fast where, you know, it's that. So, but obviously you have to wait and see. You know, the FI will have their investigation. I know Ferrari will do their own internal investigation as well, and they'll see what's actually happened and where it's gone wrong. But the fact there was no damage, there was no crash, he didn't go rides either. Obviously, he's doing some terrorism driving, which is another conversation, but that obviously wouldn't impact, you know, how he was driving. That was just him just crashing out, essentially. So.
That was him crashing out, wasn't it? I think someone said that one day you guys will realize that Charles Leclerc was just Max Verstappen in a red suit, which I found quite funny. But yeah, like the thing is, yeah, again, like we saw how George was about Max lying on his name last year. Like, George is not a liar. A shit stirrer, potentially. A little snake, maybe. But a liar, I don't think George is. I don't, and to be honest, like, and I think, again, encapsulates George Russell completely. Like, if he can stir some shit, and then he will do it. And I think, and what he's saying makes sense. You know, why are they increasing the tire pressures as soon as he goes on to his second stint? Why is he complaining about something different, you know, on the car? Clearly, they must have spoken about being borderline
a bit
with the my diet there. So, I just think I think it's clear that that's what it was talking about, and then we'll see from there. Are you there, bro? Oh, you're back. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, you left for a bit. That's okay. How much did you hear?
I didn't hear much, unfortunately.
Okay, no.
At the right time, then just cut out.
Okay, no. Basically, no. I was just saying that I think George, essentially, what are you saying? When you think about it, it all adds up, right? Like, you know, they raised his tire pressures. He's complaining about something. It may be, you know, the thing that they were talking about in the meeting was, right, you know, we were able to go at that pace because we were marginal on plank wear. And, you know, Charles was like, well, look, I can lift and coast if necessary, rather than, you know, raising the PSI and the ride height without me knowing. And now I need to, you know, now I can't drive this car. And, you know, yeah, to suddenly just develop this issue. And of course, you know, an issue could develop, but to develop a chassis issue when, you know, it's not like he went over a curb or something and at super high. I don't know. Like it doesn't feel.
I think also Nyasha as well. He has up as well because he said that obviously the team radio Charles just lost head and just went on a tangent. It's about saying leave the race to me. It says leave it to me. I can sort out the the balance in my side of things.
Yeah.
Let me race and just, but they try to change it. And also George has missed the GDPA. So we know how he is. We know he's kind of that, head boy kind of, that's how he is. So yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, look, I guess that leaves us with Lewis Hamilton. Probably his worst weekend with Ferrari. And it, I think every time you think it can't get worse, I guess it does get worse. Not every weekend, and obviously, look, the Spa comeback through the field after a disappointing day, disappointing qualifyings in Belgium was great, and it kind of showed the racecraft is still there. But obviously, early in the show, I think I mentioned fine margins, right? Lewis was like less than 200ths off making it into what do you call it? 12 into Q3. Sorry. But he's out. He starts in 12th. And if he's able, and he has a massive kind of a snap of oversteer in the middle of turn 12 that probably cost him, and then he's out. What do you think? I guess before we get into all of that, what do you think some of the comments made by Lewis this weekend? I'm useless. They should change the driver. He kind of doubled down on that. Mentioned there's things going on behind the scenes which aren't helping. And again, that could be personal, that could be professional. But I guess, how do you view, Lewis's comments this weekend?
I think Lewis as a person, I feel like, again, similar to I said, Lando being hard himself. I think he's been quite hard on himself in the sense that I feel like there's been a lot of pressure with Lewis going to Ferrari in the sense of that team, very blunt, since Schumacher's left, they've been a show themselves. Obviously, Kimi got that World Championship in 2007, but since then you've had Massa, you've had Alonso, you've had Vettel, all of these guys who are multiple world champions going to come to the team trying to bring Ferrari up, but they've all fell short. So, and I think especially with Lewis having, his last time he was in a battle was 2021. Him, the whole rapping, cool, let me get 8th, guaranteed in the bag, and then boom. I think all of this is kind of coming to him in his head, especially now he's in a team where you've got Leclerc, who's he's the favourite driver in the sense of he's been there before, and he's kind of the academy driver. I can imagine there'll be a lot of politics going on behind the scenes as well, where he wants certain things to be done a certain way. But with Ferrari, everything's kind of politics or governments, everything go up compared to, let's say, Mercedes, where it was mainly total ownership. So there wasn't that much influence from Mercedes, whilst here there'll be influence from Elka and whatever. Compared to McLaren, even, where it's just really one with much there as well. But it's a different environment, different country, different language, different way of thinking. You also see him talk about how even him getting used to the engineers, and I feel like there's going to be a learning curve, and, him getting used to that, it's going to take a while. But I guess the issue is because he comes into the car, he's Lewis Hamilton, he's a GOAT, there's going to be a lot of things we want that now and expectations. So I understand him being hard on himself, but he shouldn't be so hard on himself saying that just get someone in the car, because your words become things. But I understand how you feel like that in the sense of it's the pressure and the environment that's happening. I feel like that's kind of getting in.
I think you're right. And Ferrari is, in football terms, it's pretty much Man United, right? Like, at this point, in terms of like trading off of past glories, it feels like a bit of like, no matter what superstar they sign, it just seems like a graveyard of people's careers. Young talent doesn't seem to prosper there either. And I say that in the most disrespectful way to Man United. Please believe, if you're a Man United fan, I meant that with every fucking fibre of my body. Lewis is, after 6 months, already kind of broken by Ferrari. And it just feels as if, like I say, it feels like it is going to take a lot of time. And it feels as if he's kind of gone into a situation and seen like this organization it's going to take a lot more than just, I guess, being able to go in and drive a car that seemed like it last season seemed like quite an easy car to drive at points, and now it doesn't seem like that at all. So I guess for you, like, where do you see, like, I guess where do you see, do you think that there is, like, how do you see this relationship going? I guess, like, do you think next year with like the engine regulations and the move away from ground effect cars, which seems to have been like a bit of an issue for Lewis, do you see that relationship improving, or do you think Lewis may end up being like another body in the Ferrari graveyard?
I hope not, man. I really hope not. I thought the way I see it is kind of like, okay, cool. Lewis been promised this mansion, this 6-bed mansion in the outskirts of wherever share, yeah? He comes into the house now, that we need to be done. There's this, VSP painted over. This toilet's not working, the boiler's not working. Everything is done up, yeah? Everything's not working, right? But he obviously came with the trust already in the sense of this needs to be fixed, this needs to be replaced, and that will take time. Now, I feel like the ground effect thing is a big thing because he seems to have struggled with the ground effects cars, like he said. I'm not sure that's a thing of just Mercedes struggling in the era themselves and then also now Ferrari, but I feel like the ground effects definitely has been a big thing. We'll see what happens with the engine. I think that's the big thing with regulations. They've been saying Mercedes has got the best engines, but then again, Lewis would have definitely seen what Mercedes is cooking, and that was enough for him to be like, no, I'm going to get out there. So I feel that's a big thing where Lewis would have probably seen. He definitely would have been taking his advice, taking his advice. I know he's not an engineer, but he is an experienced driver. He looks at the GOAT. They would have had his he would have given his advice to it, and he would have been like, nah, this doesn't work for me. I'm out. Yeah. So I feel like that, and Ferrari, I feel like they've promised him a lot, but I feel like they'll back their chat in the sense of they will show enough for Lewis to convince him was there. So, and again, if not Mercedes, I think Ferrari will be there as well. So I'm hopeful that next year will be better. Yeah, I mean, we can't see just yet, but I feel like it all rides on next year, which is it's a big issue, but you have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see, man. We'll have to wait and see. Well, look, let's see how that goes. I'm quite bullish on next year and potentially the year after in terms of, it feels like a simpler set of regulations potentially. Well, the engine doesn't seem simpler, but in terms of aerodynamics, it was a bit simpler. It feels a bit simpler. So I feel like, and also they've got like, I know 5% is a lot, but they've got the regulation where the engine can't be like 5% more than in terms of performance than other engines for those who are making their engines. So I feel as if next season, I think Toto Wolff said it as well. The new set of regulations suit Lewis, and I think a year under his belt at a new team, building the structures or starting to build the structures needed quickly. A lot of people are not happy with Lewis's engineer, Ricardo Adami, in terms of their communication. And again, I guess, yeah. I did.
But I think that'll take time. I think that'll take time. I know a lot of people go into us like, he's talking too much, or he's asking all the dumb questions or whatnot. But I feel like over time you'll get to know your engineer, just like any relationship. At the beginning, he's obviously used to probably working with science before, so that's a different person to Lewis. Different person how they communicate, different person how they want to drive. That will all take time. That will all I don't think I felt people reading, personally, I think people reading into that a bit too much for my liking, in the sense of,
Yeah.
and again as well, with team radios, you're only getting a snippet. You're not getting the full radios. There'll be a lot more communication there. Lewis himself has came out saying, it's not that deep, guys. It's just how, we're communicating, just what's going on. So I feel like that's nothing to really delve into. I understand, yes, it is a bad look where, you've got this engineer yapping, you've got Lewis saying, I'm good. Let me drive and let me race. But that's also the engineer you're trying to help the situation. It's not like he doesn't care. It's not like he doesn't care, And again, we saw drivers in the past like Kimi where he was saying, sharp and drive, and no one's complaining. So
Yeah.
I don't know why it's just a big thing with Lewis. Again, I understand the sentiments.
I feel like Charles Leclerc says it every other week. Like, yeah. So I just feel like, I feel like that's not the number one issue. I think there's so many deeper issues before the race engineer. But I think that's probably the one that's easiest to kind of look at and say, well, that's not right. But I think there's probably things that we don't even see that aren't right, that probably needs sorting out before that.
These guys on TV, they're trying to get the sound bites as well. So them man are cutting it up. Just like see Love Island TV shows, them man are cutting it up just to look funny on TV for us.
Yeah.
Bear that in mind. It's not 100% you're seeing. You're seeing a snippet. They'll be talking before the race, after the race, and probably outside as well. So
yeah,
if them's just that bad, man, he'd be sacked. He'd been gone. So he's still here. So it's alright. It's alright for now.
Look, Charles got Xavi the fuck out of there. Like, so it's not like Ferrari are scared of making changes. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, well look, let's get into stars and donkey of the day. Who was your star of the day?
I hate to give it to him. I'll give it to two people, but I hate to give it to him. But the guy who on Friday apparently broke his back, apparently had muscle spasms. Apparently he had a spinal injury, whatever. He somehow managed to race, and he somehow managed to do up old school tricky training, and he came P5. And I'll give it to Alonso and Aston Martin. They surprised me this weekend. I wasn't expecting them to be this fast. I know they're better in, slower tracks or whatnot, but they managed the one-lap strategy quite well, and they raced their race effectively.
Look, that was the longest churro in history that Fernando Alonso concocted there. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, that train was insane. I think it went from I think at one point it was going from before I think it was going from fifth to
I'm pretty sure when that final was UK. Oh, I'm pretty sure they further down to UK. Yeah. UK doing DRS with that train, which is insane to me.
It's just so that there, and it pretty much ruined any semblance of a real race for anyone lower than that. I mean, Max Verstappen gave it a good go, and and we saw that there. But I just think, I just don't know, man. He did really well. We from being someone we didn't know if he was even going to race this weekend to get into fifth. You've got to give credit where it's due, and I think fair play to Fernando Alonso. My star of the day, I'm going to go with Gabriel Bortoleto, because look, I know people out there, Fernando Alonso is pushing this thing, British bias. If Gabriel Bortoleto was British, we'd be talking about him more. So let's give the kid some flowers, okay? He's driving ostensibly the 9th, between the 8th and 10th fastest car, depending on the race weekend, right? You never know. It's either him or Hulkenberg at the back, and then one of them doing really well. You never really quite know, what is the pace of this car? But recently, he's been starting to perform with a level of consistency which shows real good pace. And I think, although he won F2, I don't think people were especially excited about him in the same way that people have been excited about Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, other winners of F2. But he really is looking like a fine young driver for Sauber. And look, he's in a great position, like potentially being able to grow with that Audi team, and as they grow, as a driver that that they can depend on. So I guess for you, how do you view Gabriel Bortoleto this season? I guess where do you rank him amongst the rookies this season?
Yeah, he's actually impressed me, to be fair, especially in the second half of this first half of the season, where Sauber, they were struggling a lot at the beginning. They had these updates kicking around Spain, I want to say. And then so since Austria, he's had out of the path of races, he's finished the points 3 times, and the other time he retired. So I think that shows how fast he's been going. He's been very, again, a stable set pair of hands where I feel like they could definitely build a team around him in the future. I wasn't looking at him too highly. It says I know you won F3 and F2, so he's in that category. With your Piastri example, where he's got a flowered youth career. But I was more looking at, okay, cool, Hajar, Antonelli, more so Lawson as well for doing, but that's a whole nother subject. But I was looking at, Gabby, I was like, I'm not sure how fast the Sauber's going to be, but if they're fast, who knows? And he's definitely being, I say, top three. I say him, Hajar and Behrman, them three have all showed, their, qualities this year, and, it shows that everyone's in kind of a good hands in the future, for sure.
No doubt. I think I think if he can kick on from here, it actually kind of reminds me of Charles Leclerc's season in Sauber, where kind of not it wasn't really setting the world on fire at the very beginning, but then over the course of that season, he just kept getting result after result after result, getting in.
And I think nothing about to bear in mind. So I think nothing bear in mind as well how these rookies are going to take time for them to bed in to Formula One. So obviously we talk about Lewis getting adaptable, being adaptable with the car. So it's going to take a period for you to get used to the car. These guys have jumped into F1 for the first time. So there's a bit of a jump from F2 to F1. Obviously the tires are being a bit. There's so much difference they have to get used to. So that and the new car as well. It's going to take time. But I feel like now it looks like he's kind of got used to the car. That just came at the right time, and he's flying at the moment. So fair play to Gary Bortoleto.
No, fair play to him, no doubt. Okay, so who was your donkey of the day?
I hate to give it to him, but Pierre Gasly for me. I was disappointed with his recent.
What's going on at Alpine, bro?
Hey, it's I'll be just, to be fair. It's what, this year we've tanked too much. We've tanked for this year.
Yeah.
Focusing on next year. Mercedes engine hopefully will come in and improve. The chassis is all focused on that year. I feel like we've kind of down tools. My main disappointment of him is, so I'm not expecting much in honesty this season. I know we're the worst team on the grid, and I'm okay with that for now. Like, I'm not going to be myself. I'm okay that we're last. We've got the most points for last place. Cool. W14s are going to fight out, and on our day, depending on strategy, we could get the odd P10 or P9 or whatever. I'm okay with that. But as the fact that your teammate who has been struggling since he's came in midway through the season, I qualified you originally. He actually got out of Q1 as well, so that's something to be proud of for him. And then it's been a very poor weekend. Nothing.
I think even Colapinto's pit, there was like a massive delay on his pit, right? On one of his pit stops anyway, and that obviously kind of ruined any work that he did on Saturday. Basically, kind of ruined all of that. So
he had a
for our
30 second altogether pit stop in his first one on lap 13, and most people get pit stops on 20 seconds. So I'm pretty sure that's the slowest pit of the weekend. So, and he's still finished ahead of Gasly in the end, but yeah, it sums us up.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. My donkey. You know what? I'm gonna fuck it. I'm gonna say the FIA stewards, bro. Like, like, honest to God, yeah, I don't know what these guys like. I don't know rhyme or reason. Like, I just don't even know about F1 anymore. Like, I just don't. And I want to discuss the Lewis and Max incident, right? They got the Charles Leclerc incident completely correct, right? You can't drive erratically like that. You're moving under braking. The second one was egregious, right? Fine. They managed to sort that one out like that, yeah? And that was towards the end of the race.
But I thought that happened with
Max,
George. George was on the radio saying, hey, this guy didn't want to break him. Penalise him. He snitched. He snitched on the radio. That's the reason he got it. But yeah, I'll let you off.
No. That Max and Lewis incident, yeah. I'm actually like not overly. The consistency is what pisses me off. Last year, Max and Lewis into turn one. Lewis potentially turns a little bit early. Max sends it up the inside. He's not all the way there. Rear wheel touches front wheel. They have an incident. It's deemed a racing incident. And in that, they say Lewis Hamilton should have avoided contact or done more to avoid contact. Same circuit, different corner. Max Verstappen sticks the wheel up the inside. If Lewis Hamilton takes his racing line, those two are both out, like in a big accident. But then essentially they say that because Lewis Hamilton avoided the accident, then there's no need to give a penalty. I don't know. I at some point, I genuinely don't know. Like, if someone sticks a wheel up the inside and you don't want to hit them, but if you do hit them, then you are going to crash. I don't know if it warrants a penalty, but if I have to take evasive action, I go wide, I lose a place, and I lose seconds worth of time, surely then there should be something done about that. But then am I just interpreting the racing wrong? Let me know, Kwame. Am I seeing that wrong?
I feel like you summed up at the beginning where there's no consistency, where you've got different race weekends. There's going to be different stewards, a different steward there, a different set of guys who's got a different interpretation of the book, and like we can easily that can easily happen in Spa, say, or we can easily go to Netherlands where, boom, that's a penalty. There's no set of rules. There's no set of things where, okay, cool. If a driver bombs down the inside and, there's a penalty. There's nothing there. So the fact that, oh, cool, because he, elected to move out, elected to go out of the way. They're trying to say he's in full control and he could have. What is this? What are you doing here? I feel like, again, if there's a set rule, just have a set group. I feel like, I understand why they try to do different drivers. They try to different drivers choose there to make it unbiased and try to make it, different opinions. But I feel like just have one collective there, and that way you know what you're getting. You know what decisions you're getting, rather than changing it between race, changing it between drivers, changing it between corners. I feel like, yeah, cool, the shoes went to investigate it, but it's not clear. And I feel like we're gonna keep having these conversations unless the FI come with something where they have a set group of people the exact same race weekend.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. There's not really much else to say about that. I'm borderline over whether it is a penalty or not, but I guess, it
was terrorism driving, though.
Really.
It was terrorism driving, though. And especially as well for as 11th for the time as well. I was just sad things to go at him, man, because a couple of years ago, this was being championship, winning points, and that it just shows.
Yeah.
We are now.
It goes back to our original conversation at the start, right? These aren't, Oscar and Lando aren't superstars. They're great, but they're not superstars. And maybe, look, this is the beginning of them becoming box office, right? But at this moment in time, it doesn't, that action between Max and Lewis was probably more exciting for the neutral Dan Oscar Piastri's move at the end of the race, and Oscar and Lando at the end of the race. Okay, well, look, quickly before we end it, predictions. Who do you think is going to win the world title?
Piastri.
It's hard to argue against it. I've said Lando at the beginning, so I'm going to stick with it, but that's fair. It's not.
It's 39 points, stuff. It's 39 points. I feel like, this weekend, if Oscar did win, that definitely would have swung to his favour. But the fact is you could have been 24 and that's 9 points. And the Oscar has only won, I believe, won the last 4. Yeah, won the last 4.
Yeah.
I feel like. Yeah, we'll see.
When you put it like that, the form is with Lando. Like,
Lando,
if you extrapolate it. So let's see how it goes. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. Round of applause for you. Oh, hold on. There you go.
Thank you for having us, man. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. Where can the people find you?
At Pit Stop Fracas on X, Instagram, TikTok, I think Blue Sky as well, YouTube as well, of course. Pit Stop.
Of course.
Yes.
Make sure you go and check those guys out. Honestly, absolutely hilarious F1 podcast. Shout out to all the guys over there. And I think that will be it. I will be seeing you for daily F1 videos. If you like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple rating review, all of them things there. And remember, no matter what life throws at you, keep it on the black stuff. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.